that note, let's do some Bucks Cavs.
Look at
shall
those
we?
jerseys.
All right.
Look at that court.
Donovan Mitchell, 37, leads the team. Big win, 118-106. Sam Merrill with 20 points, 6 and 9 on threes. This is 7 straight wins for Cleveland over Milwaukee. And the news in this one, of course, is that Giannis did leave the game in the first half with a groin injury. But let's talk a little Donovan here. He's averaging almost 31 a game this season. And I feel like, and maybe it's because of the hot start last year, we sort of simmered a bit, Lou, but feels like he's a little underrated right now.
Who feels that way?
What do you mean?
Personally, I have a rule. If you make upwards of $100 million, there's no such thing as being underrated.
That's actually a great point.
If you make 100 M's, who can rate you under?
That's
right?
actually a great point.
But also, listen, this is the most attention that I've seen on Donovan Mitchell in years, since Utah. Yeah, outside, people are talking about him.
I love
People
this.
are talking about Donovan
We're
Mitchell.
not talking about
So nothing underrated about what he's doing. It's not going under the radar at all. I like the way that he's playing. A lot of aggression, a lot of confidence. He's willing his team to wins, and I like the fact that they're going through the rigors. You know, they're not having a hot start that they had last year. You know, they're going through some young ups and downs and early on in this season. And they're persevering through a lot of it. I like that. I enjoy that. What are y'all laughing at?
Yeah, I think you made a good point earlier that last year the start that they had was historic,
It's
right?
like
They
hard
were on the
to
15-0
forget.
run. They were by far the best team in the Eastern Conference last year. Like they were running away with the conference so early. Like they were resting guys and still had a huge lead going for records. This year they're not, and the story is the surprising Pistons, or the story is the Western Conference, so we're not talking about them as much. So that was what you mean by underrated.
I think that's what, maybe talked about.
But he's going to be an all-star. He's still going to be an all-NBA player. He's still the best player on this team. And we want to talk about the development of Evan Mobley, or the two guards with Garland and him. And so there's always outside chatter with this team. But I still think this is the best team in the Eastern Conference. I think this is the team that everyone thinks they're going to have to go through when push comes to shove. And again, they have a lot to prove. This is a team that has given us a lot during the regular season and always kind of breaks our hearts when it matters. So I think they know that. They kind of revamped. They came back. They have the consistent team. They have the camaraderie of pretty much the same unit that they had last year. They have a great coach with the coach of the year last year in Kenny Atkinson. So I think we're always going to talk about Donovan Mitchell, but we're also going to talk about them when their team is elite and winning games, which they're doing, but not as much as they did last year at such a clip.
I think I figured it out. It's either you do the uniform and the old court, or this court in a different uniform, because it's a lot of orange and yellow. It's kind of hurting my eyes a little bit. Migraine. They lost to the Raptors last week. I thought this was interesting because Donovan said that was actually great, that the struggles that they're going through are great because of the very thing that last year it felt like they didn't get tested the way they needed to. You agree with that?
Well, the Raptors shouldn't be their test. That shouldn't be the test line. But again, like what I just said, it's important for them to go through these things. So when you get to a playoff series, you've had the experience of getting punched in the mouth. You've had the experience of being let down and knowing what that feeling is like. And so they're not off to a 15-0 start, but they're still right there. And Chandler still feels like they're the best team in the East.
You don't?
Because of how they play. I think they're right there in the mix. I think it's still being sorted out. I don't want to jump the gun because I like what Detroit is doing, but I need to see more. That's
By the way,
all it is.
Raptors are third, just for the
and listen, 10 days ago we were talking about the Chicago Bulls.
This is fair. I'm just saying
We're still very early in this season that things are getting sorted out. I think of all the teams, Cleveland and Detroit are the two that I feel like are real. You saw the writing on the wall last year with Detroit turning that corner. They were competitive last year. I thought Cleveland they felt like they were a letdown, so they're a team that's coming back with a chip on their shoulder, and they're playing like it. But with that, you want to see that in the personality. I think they still smiling too much.
Yeah.
Right? I think they still too friendly.
Okay.
Like with a team that goes through something like that and lose a playoff series that they felt like they should have, and they felt like they're a team that should have came out of the East, I want to see some anger. And so I think that's the next step for them. And it's hard to play with anger. I get that part, and I understand that. But I want to see some aggression to a level where you're still reminding yourself every single game that, hey, we still got work to do.
I've got a team that you can look back to if you want to do a little history.
Let's do it.
When the Spurs lost in 13 to the Heat, and all of 14 was just an angry, march towards the
Revenge.
finals. It was very much, you could see it and feel it.
That's what I feel like is missing right now.
I like that, actually.
Think about this, though. He liked the early loss to Toronto.
Yeah.
They didn't lose their 5th game last season until January 12th.
Oh, that is insane.
What is it, November 18th, November 17th today? That is insane. So I think we judge this team based off the regular season a lot because they haven't, like I said, they haven't kind of got over that hump in the playoffs yet with this group. But I think it's good for them to be battle tested early. I think it's good for them to kind of go through the highs and the lows in the season this year because, like we said, last year, it was a cakewalk for them. They just ran through the Eastern Conference last year. They won the conference by 3 games over Boston, who was the big, bad, scary team coming in. So I do like that this team is getting tested early. They also went through a lot of injuries last year. So if they can keep their core guys on the floor, this is the team to come out of the East.
The Giannis thing. Maybe that's also why it feels like sometimes we don't talk about certain players as much as we should. I feel like injuries have sort of plagued a lot of conversation so far of some pretty big names in the league, and Giannis leaving the first half is not a small issue here, Chandler. If he misses time, or depending on how much time he does miss, and if you look at their upcoming schedule, how big a deal is this?
Yeah, it's tough. Obviously, you take a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo off the floor, you're just a completely different team. And they have gotten bright spots from Ryan Rollins. He's been the shock and the surprise of this story. You got Bobby Portis, you got Kuzma, you got other guys that can collectively help win games. But when you have a guy of his level off the floor, it's hopefully not for a long time. And the schedule thing is fun to look at, but like it's all going to even out. But even looking at this schedule, I mean,
interesting schedule.
It's favorable again. So I don't know.
I don't know if it is. Philly, Detroit,
Brooklyn, Washington,
at Miami, at
New York. That's not favorable.
Maybe Brooklyn, Washington.
Where do you see the favor?
Say the last 2.
No, that's a little.
You heard the first 5.
I was going this way. I was reading this way, I suppose. And again, that's why it's funny because also anybody can lose and anybody can win. And you still have to play.
I mean, the Nuggets lost
last night. Exactly.
We're about to get to.
It's a lot of balance. Yeah.
I hope it's not long because this team, I think, more so than other teams that are contending, need this guy on the floor.
Well, he will get an MRI today, so I'm sure we will have those results as soon as possible. But yeah,